of emphasis on AI is going to solve everything for us right now, and I think it will continue to get better. Machine learning solves a whole lot of problems. If you are going to outsource, then make sure that you find a very strong partner that works in the same way as your business that can also maintain your technology going forward. I actually think we'll see quite a bit of IT outsourcing. I think you really have to understand your strategy and what you're trying to achieve and what you want out of a partner, and making sure that that partner is very much a part of your team.
Hi everybody, welcome to the Devico Breakfast Bar. Here we speak with different people involved in the business landscape, share their expertise, delve into the latest tech trends, and explore the ins and outs of IT outsourcing. I'm Oleg Sadikov, and today I'm excited to have Dash Tabor, CEO and founder at TUBR. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you don't miss new episodes. Hi Dash, and thanks for joining me today.
Hi, it's nice to be here.
Let's start our podcast with a little blitz. I start a sentence and you continue. Entrepreneurship gave me
a whole bunch of new friends, a wide network, and lots of new skills.
Entrepreneurship deprived me
of sleep.
My main superpower is
I think it's my resilience to keep going.
My main weakness is
probably not having enough sleep.
When I'm afraid, I
think I have to stop, breathe, and figure out the information that I know.
Sounds great. Can you share your journey from your early days in the business world to founding TUBR?
When I started the company, I thought I had a wide network. I thought I had a lot of experience. I thought I had everything I needed, and I thought I had the absolute best idea in the world. And then I realized really quickly that it was going to be a lot harder than I thought, that I needed to expand my network, I needed to narrow my focus, and that actually you're not special until you can prove you can execute. That was kind of the beginning of my journey, and since then it's just been all about upskilling and seeing opportunity.
As both founder and the CEO, what does your typical day look like? How do you balance strategic planning and day-to-day operations?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think my typical days are very busy, and I think finding that headspace to do the more strategical bit is not always easy. I find that if I have early mornings, I often get a good amount of peace for a few hours before the day happens. But although recently I have started creating no meeting days. So every Tuesday is a no meeting day. I have my catch up with my team, and then I do everything in my power to make sure that meetings don't go in on Tuesdays. And that allows me the opportunity to really prioritize what is the one thing that I need to move forward that day or that week, and I just try really hard to make sure that I prioritize everything. So my quiet mornings, I sit down and say, what are the 3 things that absolutely have to happen today, and go from there.
Strategic Tuesdays.
Strategic Tuesdays, yeah.
Are there any lessons you have learned that you wish you knew when you started your entrepreneurship journey?
Yeah, it's interesting. I think a lot of the lessons that I've learned are hard to actually tell someone else so they don't make the same mistakes. But I think I probably could have been more strategic in the beginning in thinking about almost the business as a bit of a game board, and what pieces do I need to have that's going to 10x this period of time. How do I put my players in place so that I can go and attack, or I can grow this area or that area? I think in the beginning, I kind of just went for everything, and I didn't understand that even if we were building innovative new technology that we didn't know that was going to work yet, we could still be working on our distribution channels, or that certain partners can open certain doors. So I think the skills and kind of what I've learned is just to try and take a bit of a step back, don't get too excited, and try to figure out what steps you actually need to be taking.
The global data processing market is expected to reach $422 billion by 2027. Can you give us an overview of the current landscape in data processing for time series data, and how has it evolved over the years?
Time series is, if you think about it, time series data is everywhere. There's lots of it. There's so much of it. I think that if we look at kind of the journey that data has gone through, it started with people realizing that data is everywhere and it's valuable. And then it went through how do we collect that data? How do we store that data? How do we use that data? How do we analyze that data? And now we're starting to look at, okay, well, how can we be future-proofed towards that data? And I would say that every business, depending on size and how much data they collect, is in a different part of that journey. So it's not that we've all moved there together. But as a whole, I would also say that while there's a lot happening in the space, it's still kind of underutilized time series data. We hear a lot about LLMs and Gen AI, and there's really not as much going on in the time series space. We still have a lot of legacy algorithms, a lot of legacy processes, and I think part of that is just the challenges that come with time series data and the fact that it's quite hard to collect. It's hard to collect in completeness. It can take time for data to arrive over a period of time, so you have to wait for that. So how do you take this mass amount of data that has pockets of complexity in it and make something out of it? I think that's some of the biggest challenges in time series.
What are the biggest challenges facing companies in data processing sector today, except the ones you mentioned, and how can you address them?
Again, I think a lot of it is the maturity of the business. And in a lot of spaces, if you look at, just kind of focusing on predictive analytics, which is the space that we're in, 85% of businesses will never collect enough data to use the big data technology that's out there today. So a lot of those challenges are, well, we have this data, we've been collecting it, we don't really know what to do with it. There's pockets of it missing. We changed the way we were collecting it halfway through. And also those skills to bring in-house are very expensive. So smaller businesses, SMEs often don't have the budgets that they need to bring in the really pricey data analytics, data science skills, which hinders their ability to be able to access the same technologies and the same resources that big enterprises have.
What are some key trends or developments in data processing industry that are shaping the future?
I definitely think, again, focusing on time series and predictive analytics, there are new methodologies to machine learning and AI that are being tested. We're one of them in that we're building a physics-based methodology to the technology. And I think we're going to see more of different methodologies of this technology coming out because we understand that data is complex and it's not always complete. And in order for companies, for everyone to be able to access it, it needs to be a bit more agile. And so I think that's one of the trends that we'll start seeing and that we are starting to see, although it's quite early, is how can we build this technology in a way that's more encompassing of the actual business problems that people are facing. I also think we've seen a trend of companies looking more to what can we do with our data and looking to the platforms that they use to help them say, will you hold the data, do more for it, give me more data features, give me more accessibility that's going to help me run my operations, that's going to help me understand how many people are going to walk through my door, how many burgers I'm going to sell today, what my CO2 levels are going to be. There's a wide range of businesses out there that are saying, I want to solve more problems from a smaller business space.
How do you see the role of humans evolving alongside AI in the realm of data processing and predictive analysis?
I think we're probably putting way too much of emphasis on AI is going to solve everything for us right now. And I think it will continue to get better. But I also think that we need to see this as a collaboration between the technology and the human, and that the human will continue to feed it in, continue to be the person that looks at it and says, I don't know that that's quite right. How's that working? I think one of the trends we'll see is trying to create more transparency in machine learning and AI and in the tech that's out there so that the human can work alongside it better. Because right now there's, it's a bit of a black box in a lot of ways. But at the end of the day, I think we need to find a synchronization between the two and understand that we can't exist in isolation.
For companies looking to integrate AI into their data processing workflows, what advice would you give based on your experience?
I think that don't jump straight in a sense. Fully break down and understand where you are in that journey that we talked about in the beginning. Have you started collecting your data? Do you know what's there? Is it clean? Have you done a bit of analysis on it? There's a journey that you have to go through in order to start applying the technology in. And then I would also say really understand what you're trying to solve, because you can AI everything and you can add a lot of processes in that you don't necessarily need. So I think there's a question of what type of technology do you need. Machine learning solves a whole lot of problems. You don't necessarily need an AI element to it, or in some cases you might need an AI element to it depending on the answer or decision that you're trying to make. So I would absolutely say, like, define your problem and then define what you're trying to achieve, and then the technology can come of what's going to help answer that.
IT outsourcing is a major trend in the tech industry. What are your thoughts on advantages and disadvantages?
I think there's pros and cons. I mean, I think that in some ways it can be quite cost effective, but I also would say look at the business that you're running and how do you plan to maintain that code as you go on. So, if you are going to outsource, then make sure that you find a very strong partner that works in the same way as your business that can also maintain your technology going forward. I also think that the whole build versus buy conversation is quite big right now, and you don't always have to build your own technology. There can be service providers out there that can do that for you, like kind of what we do. We are a service provider, and that can also work alongside your outsourced technical team in order to provide that. So again, I'd go back to the business goals and really understand how your business works, what you need in a partner, and making sure all of that aligns.
How do you see the role of IT outsourcing evolving in the context of your industry's future?
I actually think we'll see quite a bit of IT outsourcing. And I think from what I'm seeing in businesses, they're kind of deciding what they want to hold and what they want to outsource. I think it's a cost-effective way to solve problems and reduce overheads. So I do think that we'll start to see kind of pockets of things that become more standard to be outsourced, and then things that companies will continue to keep for themselves just because of the level of control that they need to have over it.
Are there specific regions or countries that you find particularly promising for tech talent?
That's a good question. We started building, my co-founder is Indian, or was Indian, and so he suggested that we look in India. We ended up hiring directly in India and have the absolute best developers ever worked with in a lot of ways. I do know that a lot of times outsourcing to a dev shop often gives you different results, which goes back to your question of making sure that the partner you're working with aligns to your company. But from a talent perspective, I think we've seen quite a lot of talent in India and then also in the Ukraine. So we've worked with a few developers from the Ukraine and have had amazing success there.
As we wrap up our conversation, what advice would you give to business leaders considering outsourcing as a part of their growth strategy?
Again, I think you really have to understand your strategy and what you're trying to achieve and what you want out of a partner, and making sure that that partner is very much a part of your team. I also would say consider their ways of working and how they work. If you have a waterfall, you plan a project out, it's a very long period of time, and you're not able to feed into that as you gain more information or as the market changes, that's probably not going to give you the best results. But if you pick a partner that can really work alongside you, you're likely to have better results there.
Waterfall, I think, I don't know any startups or middle-sized business that uses waterfall these days, to be honest, but it's maybe more related to bigger companies like dinosaurs, from 1990s.
I will say that I think sometimes founders, when they go to a development partner, don't realize that's what they're getting themselves into. And then in the end, they come out and say, oh, wait a minute, this product hasn't been built in a flexible, agile way, and we've been waiting 6 months and we still don't have anything. So I think that's one of the potentially hidden things that happen if you're not smart about picking your tech partner.
Dash, thanks for joining me today. It was an amazing conversation, pretty efficient. The insights would be definitely valuable to my auditory.
Awesome. Good. Well, good stuff. Well, thanks for having me on.
If you enjoy our discussion and want to stay updated on future episodes, don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell. That way you will not miss out on the latest insights and conversations from the Devico Breakfast Bar. See you in the next episode.
Bye.